Hey guys, Atreyu is back, and it is finally time to make this dreaded video series titled How to Make Your Own Tam. Yes, I've been wanting to do this for several months now, but I know just how arduous of a task it'll be, or at least I'm thinking it's gonna be. So I've been procrastinating. But it's finally time, because I feel like if you're gonna rock locks, like, you should definitely have some tams to sport if you want, and you shouldn't have to pay people, to make your tams. You should be able to make them yourself. So I kind of want to teach you guys how to fish, since I don't, deliver fish basically. I've made friends some. Obviously, I made skate locks a tam, and some of my friends, other friends, have made them tams. But for the most part, I think it's much more valuable to be able to teach someone how to do it, so that they can do it and they can really make it their own. To me, I kind of consider it just another part of the whole lock quest. Being able to design and sort of sculpt my own my own tam. So I want you guys to be able to enjoy that as well, that aspect of the journey. We're already like nurturing our locks and stuff, so why not continue to be creative and make our own tams? So that's what this this next video series is going to be. I don't know how many parts it's going to be, but I'm just going to say I will be glad when it's done, because I am so dreading it, and no pun intended. All right, let's get to it. So before I get to what you're going to need, I just want to show you a few of the tams that I've made. And you've seen me wearing, these. But basically, this one was made with a multicolor yarn. So, as you pull the yarn, it changes color. And this was like the sort of design that it made. With this tam, this is 4 different yarns, 4 different colors. You got like the purple, the maroon, the burnt orange, and the brown. So I actually had to change yarns when I made this. I had to change it 3 times. I started with this one, and I changed it to burnt orange, to maroon, and to the purple. This one was predominantly one color. This, like, I don't know what color to call that. It's like a dusty tan, maybe, or darker than tan. I don't know. But yeah, it was that, and I just kind of sprinkled 1 row of black here, 1 row of black there, and 1 row of black there. And you can strategically place, where you want these colors to be, or if you want it all one color, that's fine as well. I've made some of those that I've given away. I don't think I have any solid color ones at the moment, but it's just to show you the different things that you can do. This one used a variegated yarn, so it's a little bit different than the multicolor yarn. If you look here, you see how each of these, like, each strand is kind of made of different colors itself. So it's almost like it took pieces of different color yarns and kind of stripped them down, and then took them and put them together. And so if you actually saw the yarn, like, it's multicolors. It's like 3 and 4 colors. So and then I used the solid brown. So I started with the solid brown, and then as I was getting closer to the end, about halfway, I changed color to that variegated yarn, and then I created a border back with the brown. So yeah, you can be as creative. You can make whatever designs you want. You can use whatever type of yarn you want. This was another one. This was one of the first ones I made. It's definitely one of my favorites. One of the ones where it's like a multicolored yarn. So you have one color, and then after a certain distance, certain length, the yarn, that same one string changes to a different color. And That's how you get these multiple colors. Same yarn, same type of yarn I should say, multicolor. I was feeling kind of crazy and sort of clownish when I bought this yarn, so I was like, yeah, let me rock a tam that has these crazy bright colors, because I'm dark skinned, so you know they say that that light colors look good on dark skinned people. And then you know, the Pan-African colors. So this one used 3 different types of yarn: green, red, and black. And yeah. And then lastly, the last one that I have here is another one of the Pan-African tams, but it includes yellow. So this one kind of, I think, like the second one that I showed you, it uses 4 different skeins of yarn. That's what you call them, skeins. S-K-E-I-N-S. 4 different skeins of yarn. Okay? All right, let's move on. So before I get into this, I just want to say, for anybody, you know, any of the dudes out here who thinks that like crocheting or knitting or whatever is like for girls only, like, come join us in the 21st century. There are a lot of dudes that know how to do those things, and they're some of the most macho men I know. So yeah, I mean, really, you're gonna let some craft that you do like inform your sexual orientation or your masculinity? Like, that's, how ridiculous is that? So if you are, you know, worried about how you're gonna look if you know, take up crocheting or start crocheting your own tams, like, don't worry about it. It's not even that deep, and who cares what other people think about you? The fact remains that you're making your own tams the way you want them, and you're saving money. So, and who knows, people might start wanting you to make them tams, and so you can even make money. Me personally, I don't like to you know, sell tams. Like, I'm not trying to create a business from it or anything. I just like to do it in my leisure, and also I like to do it when I want to rock a certain color tam or a certain design tam. So yeah, so don't be self-conscious about learning how to crochet. And it's not as hard as it looks. Alright, so now that I've gotten that out of the way, the housekeeping if you will, I want to show you some of the things that you're going to need. Alright, the first one is you're going to need 1 skein of yarn, at least 1. If you only want it 1 color, that's fine. Just get 1 skein of yarn, and this is what it looks like. I'm in the north, and I have Meyer. They sell this yarn at like Meyer, any like sort of art and craft store. You can find all types of yarn, and they get pretty exotic in those types of stores. But you need 1 of these, okay? And also, if you look on here, it'll tell you what size hook to use. In fact, you see it says US H, also 5 millimeters. So hooks are labeled by a letter of the alphabet, but also by a number. So let me rotate this and zoom in a little bit. Hopefully it'll stay clear. Alright, so go back a little bit. Alright, so this tells you that this yarn is medium. It's a medium size thread. Here where you see 2 needles, those are knitting needles, okay? Notice they don't have a hook on the point, right? On the ends, it's just a point. So those are knitting needles, and we're not going to be using knitting needles because we're not knitting in these tams. We're going to be crocheting them, okay? Crocheting uses a hook, and it also uses US 8 or H, okay? So depending on the type of yarn that you buy, it'll tell you what a good size needle is to use. But also, with a lot of crochet patterns, it'll tell you what size needle you need as well. So you can find, you know, the appropriate hook or needle. They call it a needle as well, but the appropriate hook to differentiate between this and knitting. The appropriate size hook there. And you can also find it like here. It also says US HA 5 millimeter. So let me show you the needle now. Okay, so these are examples of crochet hooks or crochet needles. And if you see, this one is size G, USA is, and it just has the brand. It doesn't have like the number, right? It just says size G. But remember, the G corresponds to a certain number. Here's another one, size I, US. On the skein, it said US, right? Here on the needle, it says USA. Same thing, same difference, and just the brand. But here's an example, another size I. So the same size, but you see how it's labeled a little bit differently. So it's size I as well, but it's 9. That's that number, right, that I read on the skein. And then also it lets you know that it's 5.5. So if we go back to this yarn here, let's see if I can get this. Yeah. The crochet hook was US H8, right? Okay. 5 millimeters. This one is a little bit larger than the H. It's I, right? And the number is not 8, but 9 because it's larger. And it's not 5 millimeters, it's 5.5 millimeters. Okay. So if you were to compare these two I, you know, this one with this, you see that they're the same size. They're just labeled a little bit differently. So depending on what hooks you find at the store, you know, don't get freaked out if it doesn't have like a number, but it says size I, or, you know, whatever hook you're going to be using. We're going to be using size I for this. So if it just says size I, but it doesn't say 9 as well, and it doesn't say 5.5 millimeters, it's okay. It's still size I is sufficient. That's all you need. Something else that you're going to need is just a pair of scissors. If you're going to be using multiple colors, you need to be able to cut the color that you're using so that you can start with the new color. Also, you're going to need to be able to cut the yarn from the tam once you're done with it. So just a pair of scissors. And then these darning needles or weaving needles. Basically, you use these to weave in the excess yarn that you have at the end of the tam into the body of the tam so that it's not really visible. And you don't need 3 of them. I just have different sizes. I think my favorite one is this one because it has the biggest eye, so it's easiest to get the yarn through that versus, say, this one, right? And this one it has a bigger eye as well, but it's not as big as that one. And then it's really long, so it can be kind of awkward to work with. I found this one last, which is why I have 3 versus 1, because if I had just found this one, I wouldn't have bought those, but you know, whatever. So yeah, you need this. Okay, so when you first buy a skein of yarn, basically it's going to have 2 ends. One will be on the outside and one is going to be on the inside. I prefer to work with the yarn, the tail that's on the inside, because when you pull it, it stays pretty much stationary. But if you use the one on the outside, then it causes it to roll around. So it can be kind of hard to find the tail on the inside. So what I like to do is I kind of like to see where this one goes. I like to try to find out where this one is coming from, the one that's on the outside. So I unravel it, and it seems like it's on the outside, because sometimes the outside one will be tied with attached sort of with the one on the inside, and then when you pull the outside one, it'll pull out the inside one. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. But it doesn't seem like that's the case for this game. So sometimes I like to dig my finger. This sounds really bad. Get your minds out of the gutter, people. In this hole to see if I can find it that way. And you see, I did not find it. I thought I did, but I didn't. Alright, so I'll just kind of dig around and see if I notice anything. And I'm like, this is kind of loose. So maybe this is the end. Ah, and it was the end. Okay. So once again, to illustrate, if I pull this, I'm pulling this, see how the whole skein is not moving? That's what I want, because I hate when I'm trying to work and I'm pulling it from the outside, but it's rolling in every which direction, you know? So I like to, you know, wrap that back around so it's kind of out of the way, and then I'm going to be working with the tail that comes from the inside. Okay, so that's what I do when I first start. I always like to find both ends, the one on the outside and especially the one on the inside, so that I can use that one to work on whatever I'm making.